Kylo Ren, more appropriately known as Ben Solo, was one of the most powerful Force wielders in galactic history. Trained in the ways of the Force for nearly 2 decades by Luke Skywalker and Supreme Leader Snoke, the last known descendant of Anakin Skywalker himself, was highly skilled and knowledgeable about both the light and dark sides of the Force. But throughout the entire sequel trilogy, as Kylo strives to become the new Emperor of the Galaxy, we never see him use the most iconic power associated with the Sith. And so, with that being said, one question that remains is, why doesn't Kylo Ren use Force Lightning? Now, this should be a rather short video because the explanation, from my point of view anyways, is actually pretty simple. But before I do explain, take note of the way I worded this question. We are not asking whether Kylo Ren can use Force Lightning, because he can. He did use it, in fact, when he killed the previous leader of the Knights of Ren during his turn to the dark side to become their new leader. So the question is simply, why doesn't he use this power in the sequel trilogy? And the answer, like I said, is rather simple. The biggest reason is that he just doesn't need to. I have explained before on this channel that Kylo Ren rarely faces worthy competition in these movies. Rey is simply not on his level yet. He is superior to her in almost every way when it comes to their ability to wield the Force, which makes sense given their levels of experience. The Praetorian Guards obviously do not hold a candle to him, nor do the Knights of Ren, and he'd be foolish to attempt such powers on Snoke or Palpatine. Taking them out requires more sleight-of-hand techniques, or of course the potential powers of a fully unlocked Force dyad. Brute force is not the way to challenge those two for Kylo, at least not yet. Now, yes, he does find himself in some challenging situations. He ends up in a bit of a pickle with one of the guards in The Last Jedi after he takes out the other 3 or 4, but that doesn't mean he should automatically just fall back on using Force Lightning to get out of that headlock he was in, especially when you consider that they are literally holding onto one another. Force Lightning is a longer distance method of attack. It allows characters, primarily darkside Force users, to harm or even kill their enemies without ever making physical contact. So it would not make sense for him to use it here because it could potentially damage himself. The other way to potentially look at this explanation though is that, as we have talked about many times before, Kylo Ren is simply not that evil. He generally doesn't have these horrible intentions like his predecessors such as Maul, Vader, and Palpatine. But I actually feel that that explanation does fall through because Force Lightning is not technically a power reserved for darkside Force users anyways. They are generally the ones who use it because of the damage it has the potential to inflict. The Jedi stay away from such powers for the most part because they can be viewed as, I suppose, inhumane in a way. But that does not mean that no Jedi are capable of using the power. Quote-unquote dark side powers are only dark because of the way they are being used or the purpose they are being used for. Force Choke, for example, is widely accepted as a dark side power, and yet Luke Skywalker openly uses it in Return of the Jedi. So although this explanation could make sense somewhat, I don't think that's the primary reason Kylo chose not to use it. Just think about it this way, why would he ever use Force Lightning on Rey? He's never trying to kill her, he doesn't want to hurt her, so it would make no sense for him to utilize this power. Now, why doesn't he use it on the guards in Episode 8, or the Sith Loyalists on Mustafar, or even try to use it on Luke when they meet on Crate? Well, there is no definitive answer for that, but perhaps it's because he wants to get up close with these opponents. Perhaps he takes pleasure in lightsaber combat, perhaps that's a more gratifying way of fighting for him, and it makes him feel more empowered when he defeats someone in combat rather than from a distance. Or perhaps he just didn't like that power in general. Maybe he didn't like it because watching someone suffer at his hands in that way and for that amount of time was not something he enjoyed. I'm not saying that is the reason, but it certainly could have played some role. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest factor by far is that he simply does not need to use this power in these movies. It's not something that he's really accustomed to using, and obviously he would not want to use it on Rey because he could cause serious damage. There's no appropriate time for him to use it, and so he just doesn't. But that sums up my thoughts on this topic for now, so I am going to go ahead and wrap this video up here. I do look forward to reading what some of you guys think in the comments section below, because this topic is up for interpretation to a large degree, so remember to drop a comment and say what you guys think. Please remember to give this video a like to support the channel, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and of course, may the Force be with you always.